Well, black people are Native Americans. We've had a lot of proof that you know some of us started here in this land. We wasn't Everybody wasn't brought over from Africa.
What are they doing here? They're Indians.
This is one of my many unsuccessful experiments. You see, with Indians, there's absolutely nothing to be done. There's the same difference between a Negro and an Indian as there is between a dog and a coyote. You can put a dog on a leash, beat him, and he'll always be there to lick your feet. Take away a coyote's liberty, and you've cut off his heir. An Indian will never be a slave. No one has ever been able to make them reproduce in captivity. They do not eat, they do not talk, they do not sleep, they do not make love.
There are several things that are significant about it. Of course, one of them is the way that colonialism tries to develop all kinds of elaborate classification terms for different kinds of people, but that's another subject. The most significant thing here is to reveal the much greater amounts of Native American ancestry that are present within the African American population than most people realize, because they might have been misled by the use of terms like mulatto and also people of color.
After the African, LeVar Burton, had been told that his name was to be Toby, and he refused it, and he was beaten to make him say his name was Toby.
That was the dramatization. How much of that actually was recounted to you? I mean, was there a lot of interweaving?
A lot of it, I thought maybe you were going to ask, and maybe you are in another way, is how much of the book is fact and how much is fiction. Well, a whole lot of it's fiction. Well, a whole lot of it's fiction. Well, a whole lot of it's fiction.
Now, this is just a tiny bit of information now.
But they take it as huge.
Right, because it's cracking open the door.
There's a place in Africa you could say that I'm from. A tribe? I am thrilled. It puts a name, a place, a location, a people.
Hank Greeley is concerned that the science isn't really there yet for you to be giving them the name of a tribe.
I think for most companies, I would be concerned too.
But what about your own company?
We have
He
the
didn't
largest...
exclude you. He included you.
But we have the largest set of sequences from Africa. And so with that, we're able to provide some level of probability in terms of frequency.
But he would say that even though you have the largest database, it's still small on the scope of things.
As I said, I share those concerns. We don't oversell. I mean, we just say, look, we provide a service. If you're interested in exploring a tiny bit of your DNA and trace its ancestry, we can do that.
When you say it's a tiny little amount,
it's less than 0.1%. Less than 0.1%. Less than 0.1%.
And that's pretty teeny.
Yeah, but for people who know nothing about any of them, I think it's very important.
You do not know a goddamn thing about Africa. I am from Detroit, Motown. So you can want Tootsie your monkey ass back to Africa if you want to.
How y'all doing? We're back. I feel like I messed up my hand. And we're back. Shout out to everybody in the building. Welcome to Educational Friday. I hope you guys are doing well. Shout out to everybody in the building. If you are new here, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and also share it too. Hype me up and all of that. If you're on the replay game, make sure y'all drop down in the comments and let me know what y'all think about this. So welcome to Educational Friday. We do this every Friday, or at least most Fridays. But we do Educational Friday here. And the point of this is to learn Black American history, but relearn what we were taught that was wrong. And to kind of find some new stuff as well. So I came up with this concept because I think it's necessary. I like it's always normally a smaller crowd so we can kind of be more intimate with our learning and all that stuff. And plus, y'all know Educational Friday is my favorite segment of all of them. It's Educational Friday, then the morning jokes. Honestly, my least favorite is reality TV. Not because I don't like doing it. I just don't like recording it. But anyway, this is my favorite segment of the week. So I'm happy to be here. I'm happy you guys are here. Shout out to everybody in the building, y'all. Today, this Friday, we're going to discuss Black Americans, economics, the history of the credit system, and how we got where we are. You know what made me think about this? So I remember when I became an adult and I didn't know nothing about credit. I do recall I went to go get my first car, and I didn't realize this until after I paid the car off. It was an Altima. The car was only like $12,000, but by the time I finished, I paid about $30,000. You know what I'm saying? And I remember when I got my paperwork and I started really knowing how credit was after I paid the car off, I remember calling my mom. I said, "Mom, why you ain't never teach us about credit?" You know what I'm saying? Like, you done taught us everything, but you never taught us about credit. And my mama said, well, when I was coming up, or at least when I was an adult, it wasn't nothing that we thought was going to be prevalent. Yeah, some people had credit cards, but for the most part, you either had it or you didn't, right? So then I was like, it made sense why they wouldn't hone in on credit, because it was something new to them. However, it's the part of, if you didn't have it, you didn't get it. You see what I'm saying? Basically, you either had it or you didn't. There was no credit system for the most part, as far as the way that we look at it today. And that's what made me want to go into Black Americans and what were we doing before we got hooked on this credit system. Now, the credit system is so messed up today. Now, everybody got credit. I don't care where you at, where you from, at least in America. I don't care what your ethnicity is. Everybody is under some level of credit. It's like now the world survives off of it. And if I think of it in my layman's term and in my regular brain, to me, it sounds like they went from, it's kind of like buying DVDs to streaming. It's kind of like the same thing. They gave you something fake in the beginning, which was the money, right? And then they took it away and turned it digital and was like, but we still giving you the money. But really, they're not giving you the money. But the gag is the money was never real in the first place. I don't know. I feel like that's what's going on with the credit system, you know, in this whole situation. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. The point I'm making is we all under this credit system, and it affected Black America most economically, culturally, well, culturally too, but economically, systematically, because we were discriminated against, just like we're redlining. Not only that, we were automatically redlined as far as the credit, but we were already put at the bottom of the barrel. And this is around all the time. Remember, all this is happening around the same time when this stuff is being introduced, because we're going to get into it. The system, the credit system. Around this time, we're looking at the Great Depression, World War II, that time frame. Okay, so we got the Great Depression going on, coming up out of that. I told you it's a bunch of poor clears coming off a boat from Ellis Island or through Ellis Island up there in New York. They are poor. They have nothing, no skills for the most part, no language, no nothing. What America was doing after the Great Depression was creating a middle class. We spoke about this as well. This middle class was created for the white person. That's where you got the redlining and all that stuff. Well, all of this is happening around the same time they're introducing the credit system. That's how they created the middle class, the house loan and all that stuff. All of that's the credit system. But we, just like physically, were disproportionately screwed over. We were disproportionately screwed over in the system itself. So we're going to get into that, y'all. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Shout out to everybody in the building. Like I said, I'm so happy y'all are here. I got to stop drinking it. But I'm so happy y'all are here, and we about to get into it. So before we get into Black America, I kind of wanted to go over a brief bit of the credit system as a whole, right? And it ain't gonna take much. I just want to kind of touch on a few things. So I was looking up the credit system as a whole and how it was introduced, right? And one thing I noticed was when it was introduced around the time of the early 1900s, it was around the time where America was already in a disarray. Okay, it was already jacked up. People was already all over the place with money. Businesses who were thriving were not anymore. Blacks and whites were losing businesses, but mostly whites more than anything. Well, I ain't gonna say mostly whites, but I'll say this. Because remember, we are the majority. So that means it was to affect us more. They're trying to shift economics around this time. They want the tides to go from the Black man being successful to the white man being successful. So in order for them to prop the white man up, they have to create a system to push the Black man down. Does that make sense? So it's the roaring 20s, like they say. Then you got all of this going on with the Great Depression. This is a perfect time, big distraction, perfect time for them to introduce this credit system. It says the year 1915, cars have been on the market for 8 years, and you're thinking about buying one. First question to ask, am I rich? Let me scroll down. Because in 1950, they were talking about cars. Scroll down. General Motors, Let me, hold on. I read the wrong one. All right, here we go. In 1933, the U.S. housing market was collapsing. To avoid complete disaster, the government created the Federal Housing Administration, or the FHA, as part of its New Deal. We spoke about the New Deal on the channel as well. All of this stuff was created anti-Black America. Everything that's happening now is being created to shift the wealth gap, shift the economics, and take the power from us to them. The FHA had one goal: to create jobs and stimulate demand for building materials. FHA created two programs, Title I loans and Title II mortgages. The government decided not to offer homeowners direct assistance and said instead the government would ensure bank-issued home loans. If a homeowner defaulted, the bank would always get the principal back. Now, you already know that's how it is today. So basically, if you buy a house, the bank says, okay, we're going to loan you the money to buy the house. And they give the money to whoever's selling you the crib. Now, what happens is the bank and the government knows either you're going to die before you can pay for it, or 99.9 times out of 10, you'll never pay for this bitch. You feel what I'm saying? So the backdoor deal, the under the table deal that we as Americans don't know about is everybody working together. Like I told you, that one big joke and everybody's in on it. Boom. So what was going on was they had us coming in there. Wait, damn it, I just lost my thought. I hate when I do that. What was I saying? We were coming in. They were, girl, I hate when I do that. I hate when I know how I'm gonna find my thought. Let me scroll back up. I need to stop looking at other stuff. Oh, yeah. So we're coming in. I think this is what I was saying. They were, how they got the money back. So everybody got their handshake under the table. Sorry, and you're not realizing you're the one being played. What the bank doesn't tell you is after they loan you the money, they're never gonna take a L. Because they have a backdoor agreement with the government that I know they're not going to pay this loan off, but I'm going to get the money back from the government. So then that tells you the system of credit already is jacked up. And what else is going on around this time? I told y'all that creation of the middle class, that after the World War II with the GI Bill, a lot of white soldiers got middle class homes and all that stuff because of that. All of this happened to literally extract the power and wealth from Black America and shift it to the whites. Now, this is the crazy part. All of the whites didn't get this, but enough of them got it to make you believe or give you the illusion that that was the norm across the board. When the fact of the matter is the average white person is poor. I have a segment on the Educational Friday about poor whites. Go check it out, okay? They were poor. But there's an illusion from Black America that white people are typically or were typically doing better. And the fact of the matter is they were not. So far we know this. It's World War II, Great Depression. Black Americans are thriving in business. They are mostly the majority in the South. They have homes, banks, all types of stuff. Here comes the Great Depression. It washes away a lot of Black businesses, not all, but washes away a lot of Black businesses. Also, economically takes a lot of wealth out of the Black community. And then here comes the government backdooring with these doggone FHA loans. Here, come buy a house or come join the military and we'll give you a GI Bill. I have a video, not an Educational Friday. I have an actual video, I want to say, on the GI Bill on my channel. Go check it out. That was another way they gave the white people a leg up over us. Now, as far as it goes, I'm sorry. I think it was one thing I wanted to show y'all on this. Let me see. Nah, I think we good there. Okay. Now, I want to get into Black America and how this started affecting us. So let me scroll down. Hold on. All right. I'm sorry, y'all. Let me pull this stuff up. I should have already had it pulled up. Y'all like the video if you haven't already. I'm just trying to pull up these articles because I got a video for y'all that's basically going to talk to y'all about the gap, the wealth gap in the 1960s and how credit basically screwed over Black Americans, literally, and how these credit scores are basically working against y'all or us. I'm saying y'all like I ain't Black. All right, banking, finance, and insurance. It says African Americans established their own banks and insurance companies in response to discriminatory practices and the need to serve their communities. Now, mind you, this is all coming around the Great Depression and all that. Black-owned and Black customer service-oriented banks and insurance companies were formed out of exclusion of African Americans from these systems and provided a source of credit, economic development, jobs, and training opportunities for their communities. So far, after all of this goes down, or during this time, Black Americans create our own system. I told y'all we had our own banks, schools, everything. And what we realized was, you know what? They got their stuff over there. It's hard for us to get loans. They screwing us over. Let's just create our own systems. And we did. Now, I'm going to be honest. I feel like a lot of that went to the left. I'm going to not curse. But I feel like the reason a lot of that went to the left is because some people are greedy. I think a lot of people sold out for money and for selfish reasons. And then some people were bullied. I believe that. But it goes on to say Black-owned. Oh, I said that already. Black-owned and Black customer service-oriented banks and insurance companies were formed out of exclusion of African Americans from these systems and provided a source of credit, economic development, jobs, and training opportunities for their communities. It goes on to say, let's scroll down. No, let me go up. This section examines the African Americans' banking and insurance industries and provides information on individuals who are able to succeed in finance despite racial barriers. The Freedmen's Bank, I've showed y'all this on that channel as well. The Freedmen's Bank was literally given away to the immigrants by your homegirl, Skamala Harris. Skamala Harris, we did a whole video on it. I talked about it on a few Morning Josephs. She literally got up there and said, although the Freedmen's Bank was built for Black Americans, it was really meant for everybody. And she got up there on stage and literally gave away our bank. And we had no clue it was happening. It says the Freedmen's Bank was established in 1865 to allow newly freed slaves in the South to build assets, but ended with bank failure due to speculation and fraud committed by the white managers of the bank. The bank fell. You know that was a setup. And you know who else I believe was in on that? But they're going to be mad. Frederick Douglass. But let's move on. I ain't going to go there today. Not today. Let's move on. All right. The bank failure the bank failure created financial loss to its customers and a loss of trust in the banking system. Its records provide a valuable source of genealogical and economic research. You hear that? Genealogy. I hope y'all been doing y'all genealogy. Between 1888 and 1934, 134 Black-owned banks were formed, but only 9 survived the Great Depression. While there was a growth in banks through the 1970s to a total of 50 banks, only 27 survived the savings and loan crisis of the 1980s. Let me pause. We doing genealogy and we can find people far past the 1880s. Just what if one of y'all do your genealogy and find out, oh snap, my great-grandfather owned a Freedmen's Bank and it was taken from them. Do you understand you just literally dug up a pot of gold in your backyard? I really need y'all to understand what this genealogy stuff is about. Because the reason why you're not getting this money back is because you don't know it was stolen from you. One of y'all sitting up there rather play the scratch-off lottery tickets. Y'all rather play the lottery. Girl, screw all of that. You have a better chance of doing your genealogy and hitting the pot of gold this way. And it's bigger than the Freedmen's Bank. The point I'm making is we had so much, but we don't know it because they don't teach us this stuff. And we don't get this through our family lineages. It's not like we having these conversations at home. So if we don't know we were stolen from, how will we know to go get it back? I'm telling you, genealogy is the only way y'all gonna get reparations. I don't get, even if the government offered it to you, it's a trap. The genealogy, if you want your true reparations, I'm telling you, and don't think your family had to be no big time banker. Your family could have owned a library. Your family couldn't have owned that. It could have just been their land that was taken from them. You just never know. You just never know. But you have to go find out by doing your genealogy. Okay. Let me show you this article. It says, abstract to affordable credit played a central role in the civil rights movement. There you go. Yeah. But today, racial and ethnic minorities oversubscribe to high-cost lending products like payday loans and underused, more affordable credit options that traditional banks offer. It says these trends remain even when controlling for demographic variables like income, credit score, and education. While research varies that these disparities exist, little work explains why. This essay argues that the advertising entrenches these racial inequities. 2 empirical studies were conducted of advertising by banks and payday lenders, suggesting that payday lenders steer African Americans and Latinos to their products while banks market to whites. Well, duh. Pause. You have more payday loans places on the corner in the hood than a bank any day. As a matter of fact, when you drive through the hood, you'll be lucky to find a bank. But you got buku payday loans, some Arabs back there. I told y'all they almost got me on the payday loan. I borrowed $500 to get my license plate back. Girl, please. They want the charge. They wanted me to pay back damn $2,000. So there is a racial disparity. You got to go to the payday loan to get your loans, where the white folks got readily access to the banks. Yep, and a lot of churches too. It goes on to say, for instance, though African Americans make up 23% of payday lending customers, 35% of model customers featured in advertisement on these lenders' website depict African Americans. I told y'all advertisement, that subconscious plays a real good job on y'all. If all you see is mostly black people on the ads, you're going to think that's where you're supposed to go subconsciously. It goes on to say, meanwhile, almost 30% of mainstream bank websites featured no African Americans. Almost 75% featured no Latino models. Only 3% did not feature a white model. And it says, even after the outcry over racial injustice in 2020, banks did not appreciably increase the representation of people of color on their websites. Listen, when I was telling y'all earlier about the lady on the Morning Joes, the lady who had the hairstyle, and I was like, yeah, they got us thinking it's ghetto. You got to understand what this programming means and how it works. You looking at it like it's just, oh, who cares? It's an ad. The ad is what drives you to have the action behind it. If you only see, I'll give you an example. McDonald's. Do you know why more black people eat at McDonald's in America than any other race? The ads. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it. All of the commercials. All of the advertising directly targets Black Americans. This is the wonderful thing about fried chicken. They don't need to make no commercials. It is what it is. The chicken gon' chicken. But when it comes down to certain products, they target Black America. Coca-Cola, Sprite. That's another target that most of the ads specifically target Black Americans. Now you thinking, oh, they put hip hop in it. Cool. No, that's to subconsciously make you go toward the product. So if they have that power in advertisement, then they have the reverse power, meaning if they can steer you toward it, they can steer you away from it. So if they don't want you coming in their banks, then you probably won't see black people on the ads, or they won't have banks in the hood. You get it? Whereas if they want you to go to the payday loan people, they'll put a crap ton of payday loan people in your hood and keep the ads with people that look like you on them. You see what I'm saying? So, and I've been picked up on that. Advertising is so important. Somebody who's behind, or the person or people behind ads, are typically people who study psychology and sociology extensively. They study people to understand the human psyche, human behavior, and how to predict what you're going to do, which is not hard. It's really not. I used to think you had to be smart. It's really not. All you got to do is just watch and pay attention. But all they do is sit around and watch people, look at trends, and see what they need to do to target your ass. You know what I'm saying? And move around. But there's a lot of racial disparities, in these systems, because the banking comes with credit and the payday loan comes with credit. So if they're steering you toward the payday loans, then guess what? There's a high probability they're going to screw you harder than they would have screwed you at the bank. I want to share this article. This is from NCLC. I forgot to cite these articles. It says credit reports and scores reflect stunning racial disparities. It says credit reporting and credit scoring are supposed to be entirely objective, with no room for flawed tools such as human judgment and the bias built into human minds. Well, what if the computer is biased? Because AI is hella biased. It's racist as hell too. It says, yet for the past 3 decades, study after study has found that Black and Latino communities have lower credit scores as a group than whites and Asians. In 2021, the median credit score for the Vantage score for Black consumers was 639. Median means like the average, right? Yeah. While for the white customers, it was nearly 100 points higher at 730. And Asian customers' median was 752. So that means the average Black person was 639 credit score. The average white person has 730. The average white person has 730, and the average Asian has 752. Okay. Whereas Latinos has 673. So at least they had about 20 points higher than us. It says first are for a list of all other reports, we don't care. Black and Latino customers are also more likely to lack a credit history or to have a too scant a history to generate a credit score, referred to as being credit invisible. Now, let me tell you how I know that ain't a lie. When I first bought my car, my very first car that I paid a note on, it was a Nissan Altima green. I never forget it. I rolled that bitch literally to the whole front of it came off. I swear, literally the whole front came off. I rolled that whole. But this is the point. I didn't know nothing about credit. And because I didn't have a history of credit, I was penalized on top of not knowing about credit. On top of the fact that my credit score, because I didn't have any before, was completely low. So I'm walking in. Remember I told y'all the car that I bought was like 12.5, maybe 12 and some change. By the time I finished, I paid 30. Now, by the time I finished paying for the car, now I understand credit. Now I understand money. So now I'm looking at myself like, holy crap, I've been robbed. But this is systematically done. First of all, they don't teach Black Americans about credit in no system, not in school, not in home. Most of us don't know much about credit. And when we do know, we gatekeep the information and don't pass it on to our children. But the fact of the matter is they put it in there systematically so that it always keeps up at the bottom. If we never educate them and put them at the back of the line, then it'll be harder for them to get up front. Now, some of us find our ways up there and we like shit, but we, it is what it is. But a lot of us are ignorant to the process to even know we being pushed to the back of the line. And it's a systematic thing that has to change. It absolutely has to change because these are one of the things that's put in place to keep you at the bottom of the wealth gap and keep them at the top. Foreigners get a better job than you, or at least a better credit score. It says Black and Latino customers or consumers are more likely to lack a credit history or to have too scant of a history to generate a credit score, referred to as being credible or credit invisible. It says the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, or CFPB, found that about 15% of Black and Latino customers or consumers are credit invisible, compared to 9% of whites and Asians, and an additional 13% of Black and 12% of Latino consumers have unscorable credits or records. It says compared to 7% of whites. The racial disparities in credit scores are due to deep structural factors created by centuries of intentional and legalized discrimination, as well as present-day bias. These huge gaps stem from the very nature of judging humans based on their past behaviors. By doing so, credit scores necessarily incorporate elements of past and present inequities. So basically, for lack of better terms, what they're saying is this. You're already starting at the back of the race. And because you're already starting at the back of the race, you're probably not going to make it to the front. But that's done on purpose. It's purposely done to keep you back there. And credit scores are extremely racist. And this is the worst part. Most people won't know it. Because we just thinking we all stepping in at the same time, getting the same advantages. Or at least we believe we're getting in the same opportunities, but we're not. Hold on. And after this, I'm going to play this video for y'all that I want to show y'all. Hold on. God, I don't want to create an account. Jesus. Every time you pull on an article, they want to harass you. Jesus Christ. Oh, yeah, this is good. Business credit. Because remember, they took a lot of our business. This is from medium.com. It says, if there's one thing every business owner needs, it's financing. It says, loans are the bedrock of starting a growing business. And to get one, a borrower needs a good credit score. Now, me as an entrepreneur, and I know a lot of you guys are going to be entrepreneurs, if not are already, I've heard the stories of many, many years ago, or not even many years ago, even today, of Black people talking about how hard it is for them to get loans for businesses. Like, now, if you go in there and you want a loan for a car, they're going to write that up. Here, girl, there you go, take it. You see what I'm saying? If you want a loan for a house, depending on when, they'll give you that too, because they understand that that loan is just going to create more debt for you. But when it's about a business loan or something like that, that's when the gloves come off. That's when they be like, we can't do that. So this is where the system gets even more tricky. It says this system ranks a person's financial history on a scale of 300, which is poor, to 850, which is excellent. A number that plays a major role in whether a business owner can get the capital they need. The system is supposed to be neutral, fact-based way to decide whether to approve a loan application. But the U.S.'s history of economic racism puts BIPOC, B-I-P-O-C, people, what is that? But the U.S. But the U.S.'s history of economic racism puts BIPOC people, I don't know what that means, at a disadvantage in credit score calculations, codifying discrimination into data and producing more discrimination as a result. It says rather than leveling the playing field, credit scores serve as gatekeepers to wealth building for communities already facing the highest barriers. Despite creating inequity, this system is still an improvement on what came before. It says prior to the 1974 Equal Credit Opportunity Act, overwhelmingly white male bankers had total discretion over business loans, approvals, and regularly denied BIPOC applicants based solely on their race. The passage of the ECOA mandated that banks use credit history, not any part of any applicant's identity, in deciding whether to approve the loan. We know how that went. Credit reporting agencies began calculating number scores in 1989, using a formula created in 1959 by two white men that's known as the FICA. Now, that makes sense. I'm born in 83. Okay. Oh, well, thank you, Latasha. She done taught me something. Black, indigenous, people of color. Wow, I have never heard of that. Girl, you just taught me something. Hold on, I ain't never heard of that. Google, help me out. What is the Black Indigenous People of Color? It's an acronym that stands for Black Indigenous People of Color. It is used as an umbrella term primarily in the United States to highlight the unique historical and systematic oppression of experience by Black and Indigenous communities, which often differs in nature from differs in nature from that faced by other people of color. But the Black people are the Indigenous people. Wow. I just learned something new. Insanitary. I never heard of that. Black and Indigenous People of Color. That's a whole long ass oxymoron, though, if you ask me. Black, what you mean Black and Indigenous People of Color? That's 5 different people you just put in one name. Anyways, back to it. It says the passage of the ECOA mandated that banks use credit history, not any part of the applicant's identity, in deciding whether to approve a loan. Credit scoring or credit reporting agencies began calculating the number scores in 1989 using a formula created in 1959 by two white men known as the FICO. So I was born in 83. So by the time the 90s came and I'm a teenager, and the early 2000s come in, I'm an adult, my mama don't know much about credit because it's a new system. It says, but the financial activity that credit agency use in scoring mortgages, student loans, car loans, and credit cards is inherently biased against BIPOC or BIPOC borrowers because it is based on financial instruments that economic racism has kept out of reach of racialized communities for decades. For most of the 20th century, redlining kept applicants of color, particularly Black folks, from getting mortgages and building wealth through home equity. Although it was officially outlawed by the 1968 Fair Housing Act, it was continuously informally, more recently in the form of subprime lending. As a result of this history, many other factors, the Black home ownership rate is just 44% compared to 74% for non-Latinx white people. Now, something that came out in this that I want to talk about. When it was talking about the redlining of applicants of color, Black folks getting mortgages, building wealth through homeowners, and all this in 1968. What else is happening around this time? Well, just happened. The interstate system. Remember, was it Roosevelt, Eisenhower? Don't get me the line. One of them clear men, bad Bill clear men, that was the president around the time, introduced the interstate system. Now, why is this important to Black wealth and economics? Because the interstate system literally took down thriving Black communities. Everywhere there's a high interstate system, I-10, I-12, I-59, I-55, I-12, whatever I you at, it runs through what used to be thriving Black communities. I'm talking about Tulsa, Oklahoma, all over America. So around this time, they already making it hard for Black people to get business loans, but also simultaneously, they're running them out of their businesses through gentrification. Well, yeah, is it gentrification around that time? Through gentrification, through all of this other stuff. The interstate system pushing people out of their homes, a whole bunch of stuff. What was the last date for not Trail of Tears? What's the other one, girl? I hate when I draw blanks like this. Don't get me to lying. The Great Migration, bitch. The Great Migration. That's what it is. The Great Migration wasn't over until the 70s. I know y'all know that, right? I want to say 72. Don't get me to lying. All of this is happening and pushing us off of our lands. And then on paper, or at least in the system, they're putting us at the back of the line. So it's almost like you stealing my car, but then dropping me off 100 miles from my house. Bitch, you already stole my car. At least drop me off close to the crib. You gonna take my car and make it hard for me to get home? That's exactly what was going on. So you got, and I tell y'all, it's a web of stuff that's happening. It ain't just one thing, and they don't do one thing for one result. One thing always yield 50 million other results. But you got to keep in mind, all of this is happening so much that we don't even know. And then you got to keep in mind, we got Black Panther Party going on. We got the Civil Rights Movement. They just killed Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. Then they just popped, what's that boy who was over there with the Panthers? Now we got uprisings in Cali. We got shit going on. And we not even realizing in the background, they doing some jacked up stuff on the paper side. Like, it's ridiculous. I had saw this video that I want to share with y'all. It sounds like a brother, but even if it's not, he does good content. I had saw this video from this brother. What's the name of his channel? I'm gonna show y'all the name of his channel. Hold on, let me pull him up. Here you go. What's the name of the channel? Soulful Yesterdays and Sisters of Yesterday. This channel, whatever this channel is, they put out some really good content. So this channel talks about Black Americans' economics in the 60s and what we were doing prior to this damn racial gap or this wealth gap through this credit system. Like, how were we surviving and how did it kind of like screw us over? So I saw this video, I did watch it, and I thought it would be dope to share it with y'all because it'll kind of let you understand what's going on today. So we're going to get into it, y'all. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let's get into it.
1960s were a time when Black families operated under a financial code that kept them debt-free. These families saved strategically and followed rules that disappeared with the next generation. Here are 25 reasons why Black families had no debt in the 1960s. Paying cash for everything, including major purchases, was the foundation of financial life for Black families in the 1960s. Credit cards were rare and largely unavailable to Black Americans anyway. Even when they were offered, most families refused them on principle. The philosophy was simple and unshakable. If you did not have the money in your hand, you did not buy the item. Fathers would save for months, sometimes years, to pay cash for a used car or a new refrigerator. Mothers kept money hidden in coffee cans, mattresses, and secret spots known only to them. The act of counting out bills and handing them over represented independence and self-respect. Nobody owned you when you paid cash. There was no interest eating away at your paycheck, no collectors calling your home, no anxiety about making payments. For Black families navigating a world that was already stacked against them, paying cash meant control. It meant freedom, and it meant that everything you had was truly yours. The envelope budgeting system in kitchen drawers was how Black mothers managed household finances with precision and discipline in the 1960s. Every payday, cash was divided into labeled envelopes for rent, groceries, utilities, church tithes, and savings. Once an envelope was empty, spending in that category stopped until the next payday, no exceptions. Children learned early that when mama said the grocery envelope was low, you ate what was in the house and made it stretch. There was no borrowing from the rent envelope to cover extras. This system required planning, sacrifice, and an honesty about what the family could truly afford.
You know what, too? It requires discipline. And I can say, not to give us an excuse in today's time because we don't really have any, but there were nowhere near as many distractions. You know, this is back during the time where life was more simpler, where you went out and you wrote, well, first of all, you wrote letters to your significant other and you was excited to see them. And a date was holding hands and walking in the park. Girl, now I'm a simple girl. You could still come pick me up and walk to the park. I ain't gonna hold you. I like that type of stuff. I'm a simple girl, but you can't be broke. However, times have changed, and I can see why the discipline was better then. However, I'm not saying it's impossible for us to do now. We can do it today. We just have to disconnect ourselves from the distractions of this world.
Mothers passed this method down to their daughters, teaching them that knowing exactly where every dollar went was the only way to stay ahead. The envelopes were often worn and reused month after month, each crease and smudge telling the story of careful management. For Black families, those kitchen drawer envelopes represented more than organization. They represented survival through wisdom. The shame and stigma around owing anyone money ran deep in Black communities during the 1960s. Debt was not seen as a tool or a convenience. It was viewed as a moral failing, a sign that you could not manage your own affairs. Families whispered about neighbors who owed money to the corner store or had their furniture repossessed. Children were taught that your good name was everything, and nothing destroyed a reputation faster than being known as someone who did not pay their debts.
Now I get it. This is why Black America looks down on other Black Americans who use the doggone, what is it? When you be filing bankruptcy. I get it. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm getting an epiphany. Okay, remember we were talking about bankruptcy one day on the channel, and I was telling y'all, I said, I don't know why Black Americans think that bankruptcy is a bad thing. It's not. It's actually a system built to help you. Well, now it makes sense because culturally, we didn't deal in their system. Culturally, we didn't rock with them people. It was like if you had to go to them, you was less than. Like you needed these people. You see what I'm saying? So for us, it was a pride thing. It was prideful to say, I don't have to go to the white boy for a loan. So I don't have to go to him for bankruptcy neither. I get it. Yup, food stamps too. I get it. This brother just put this all together. So it was pride, but it was more or less like, I don't need them. So if you dealing with them, then okay, y'all follow me. We all caught it together. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm a little slow sometimes. Let me back him up a little bit.
Deep in Black communities during the 1960s. Debt was not seen as a tool or a convenience. It was viewed as a moral failing, a sign that you could not manage your own affairs. Families whispered about neighbors who owed money to the corner store or had their furniture repossessed. Children were taught that your good name was everything, and nothing destroyed a reputation faster than being known as someone who did not pay their debts. Grandmothers would say that when you owed money, you were not free. You belonged to whoever held that debt. This mindset was reinforced in churches, where sermons often touched on the sin of living beyond your means. For Black families who had so recently emerged from systems designed to keep them in bondage.
So wait, you mean to tell me there was a time where in church they preached about living beyond your means? And do y'all see what the church is doing in 2026? Yeah. See, that's how you know, man. They infiltrated all the systems, bro.
The idea of voluntarily putting yourself in debt to anyone felt like a betrayal of everything their ancestors had fought for. Being debt-free was dignity. Layaway plans at department stores for big purchases were how Black families acquired expensive items without going into debt during the 1960s. Layaway allowed shoppers to put items on hold, make small payments over weeks or months, and only take the item home once it was fully paid. This meant no interest, no credit checks, and no risk of owing money you could not repay, and it helped families stay debt-free. Mothers would start layaway on winter coats in summer, paying a few dollars each week until the cold weather arrived.
My mama was doing that when we was young. Girl, my mama go put our Christmas stuff in, like the beginning of the year, put our school clothes stuff in months before that, and put them coats on layaway before. Yeah, girl.
Gifts went on layaway as early as September, ensuring children would have something under the tree without the family going broke. The layaway counter at stores like Sears and J.C. Penney was familiar territory for Black families, and store clerks knew their regular customers by name. The discipline required to visit the store weekly, make payments, and wait patiently until the item was yours taught lessons that credit cards would later erase entirely. Joining Christmas clubs at local banks and credit unions.
The layaway system was so much more effective for the consumer. Let me tell you why. Because the layaway system it wasn't based off of your credit per se. It was just, hey, I have an item. I don't have all the money right now. Hold it for me, and I'm going to just pay on it. And then the people could be like, hey, well, you ain't make your payment, so I put it back on the show. And you kind of like, you take a loss on what you lost, but it doesn't affect you down the line. Now, the store could say, I don't want to keep letting you go on layaway, but for the most part, there's no system to like brand you as a bad person because you can't pay your layaway. You see what I'm saying? My grandma used to go to Kraus. There was this store. I don't know if Kraus was all over, but I do know they had a Kraus downtown Canal Street, Krauss. Yes, Kraus. My grandma, every year we used to walk from the St. Bernard, and we used to catch the bus downtown to Canal Street, and my grandma used to go pay her bill at Kraus. She also used to put our Christmas gifts on layaway at Kraus. But it was a much better system for the people because the people, you're not putting them in a bad situation if it messes up. And the only thing you're really going to lose is the money you put out. Versus now with credit, if your credit get hit, you can't do nothing. That's crazy. That's why they got rid of that shit.
Was a tradition that helped Black families save for the holidays without stress. These special accounts let members deposit small amounts weekly throughout the year and then receive the full sum in November or December. The money was earmarked for Christmas gifts and holiday meals. Walking into the bank every Friday to make that deposit became a ritual, and children accompanied their parents, learning the habit of consistent saving. By the time December arrived, families had accumulated enough to celebrate without borrowing a dime. Some credit unions paid small bonuses or interest on these accounts, making the practice even more rewarding. Christmas clubs removed the temptation to spend holiday money early because withdrawing before the designated date meant forfeiting the interest. For Black families, this system meant that January arrived without the crushing weight of holiday debt that so many face today. Waiting for sales and never paying full price was a point of pride.
That's a bar. I don't mean to keep stopping it, but if you did a layaway system the day after Christmas, you're not stressed out. But on credit, what we is. I know. I done maxed out a credit card for Christmas. And my baby birthday on the 30th. So I done maxed it. And on the 1st, be sitting there praying to God that income tax coverage. You see what I'm saying? Man, watch out. This is crazy.
For Black families managing tight budgets in the 1960s. Mothers studied newspaper circulars like textbooks, circling deals and planning shopping trips around the best prices. They knew which stores marked down produce on certain days and when department stores ran their clearance events. Buying anything at full price was considered wasteful and foolish. Children learned to wait for what they wanted, understanding that patience could mean getting the same item for half the cost.
Now that's the ooh. And let me tell y'all something, because I'm gonna repeat what he just said. He said children learned to wait for what they wanted. You know what's crazy about that statement? Why I don't think it would work today? Not because of the children, because of the adults. I don't think it would be the children that the system or the collective of us would have to worry about. It's the adults. Not my child, they gonna get what they want. And if my child won't, then da-da-da, and ain't no bitch gonna tell me, oh yeah, it wouldn't even be the children. It would be the children, but the most kickback would be from the adults, and that's on me. The most kickback gonna be from the adults, not the children, the grown adults.
Clothes were purchased at end of season sales, sized up to allow for growth. Canned goods were stocked during loss leader sales. The philosophy extended beyond groceries to everything from furniture to appliances. This discipline was not about being cheap. It was about maximizing every hard-earned dollar and refusing to let retailers take more than necessary. For Black families stretching limited resources, strategic shopping was a form of financial resistance. Making items last through constant repairs and maintenance was how Black families avoided unnecessary purchases in the 1960s. Nothing was thrown away simply because it was worn or broken. Fathers spent weekend hours fixing appliances, patching roofs, and keeping old cars running with determination and ingenuity. Mothers mended clothes, resold shoes with cardboard, and found ways to extend the life of household items that others might discard. Children learned that taking care of your possessions was both practical and respectful. A washing machine might last 20 years because someone knew how to replace belts and unclog hoses.
Yep.
Furniture was reupholstered rather than replaced. The television repairman was called long before anyone considered buying a new set.
Yep.
This mindset came from generations of making do with less and refusing to let anything go to waste. For Black families, maintenance was not just about saving money. It was about respecting what you had worked so hard to obtain. The hand-me-down culture from older siblings and cousins kept Black families clothed without constant spending in the 1960s. Clothes were passed down systematically, traveling through multiple children before being retired. Older cousins sometimes sent boxes of outgrown clothes across state lines to younger relatives who needed them. Nothing wearable was thrown away. This practice was not seen as settling for less. It was practical, sensible, and community-minded. Children learned to take care of their clothes because they knew younger siblings or cousins would need them next. Mothers altered hems, took in waists, and patched knees to extend the life of each piece. Hand-me-downs stretched clothing budgets further than seemed possible, freeing up money for necessities like rent and food. The practice also strengthened family bonds as garments carried memories and connections across households. For Black families, wearing hand-me-downs was never shameful. It was evidence of a support system that kept everyone dressed with dignity. Participating in Susu and rotating savings clubs among women were a powerful financial tradition that Black families carried from African and Caribbean roots into the 1960s. These informal savings groups brought together trusted friends, neighbors, and church members who each contributed a set amount weekly or monthly. The collected sum rotated to one member at a time until everyone had received their payout. A susu of 10 women contributing $20 each meant someone went home with $200 at every meeting.
I have never, have y'all ever heard of this? Now they say it's an African and a Caribbean root. I've never heard of susu. This is my very first time of hearing that. Okay, Anthony says he remembered. I never heard of that. I'm learning something new on that one.
This system required no banks, no credit checks, and no interest payments. Trust was the only collateral. For women who were often shut out of formal banking, SUSAs provided access to lump sums of money for emergencies, appliances, or down payments. The meetings also built community and accountability. Missing a payment meant letting down friends and neighbors. SUSAs were financial empowerment born from necessity and sustained by trust that banks could never replicate. Relying on church mutual aid societies and emergency funds kept Black families.
That's a great idea for group and nation building. That susu thing, the idea of it, if I understand it correctly, that is extremely powerful of a tool to have if done correctly. Meaning if everybody got the same mentality and it's the same goals, that's a powerful ass tool. Hey, I never heard of it. Maybe I heard of it and it was called something else, but it doesn't sound familiar to me. That's a powerful tool. And with that tool, it's kind of almost fail-safe a little bit for the most part.
Families afloat during crises in the 1960s. Black churches were more than houses of worship. They were financial institutions that cared for their members. Congregations maintained emergency funds to help families facing unexpected hardships like medical bills, funeral costs, or job losses. Deacons visited families in need, bringing groceries and sometimes cash collected from Sunday offerings. Members gave what they could and received help when they needed it, creating a cycle of support that required no paperwork or interest payments. Church mothers organized food drives and clothing exchanges. The pastor knew which families were struggling and quietly directed resources their way.
Not no more.
This system of mutual aid meant that Black families rarely had to turn to predatory lenders or go into debt during emergencies. The church community functioned as a safety net built on faith, trust, and the understanding that everyone would need help eventually. Living in two-parent households where both incomes combined meant Black families could build stability without borrowing in the 1960s.
Remember I told y'all, I said, I know the way society got us jacked up when we talked about creating generational wealth and breaking generational curses. Remember what I told y'all, marriage, yes, it's a necessity, y'all. Marriage is a necessity. And again, it's not about how you feel. It's not about who you love. It's about who you connected with and y'all mentality and the like-mindedness and what y'all want to do. Love is icing on the cake. Love is the lanyard. Love is the dot on the I, bitch. You need the I. You get it? Marriage has got to come back on the table. We don't get married no more. That's strategically done to create or to keep us from creating generational wealth. We got to get back to loving each other. All of this, oh, you just hate Black women, or oh, Black women hate Black men, all that's got to go. It just has to. It has to. And I'm telling you now, for people who just can't get over that hump, you're going to get left behind. I swear. Because the only way it's going to work for real, is you have to get back to the old dynamics.
When both husband and wife contributed to the household, the financial pressure on any single paycheck was reduced. Fathers worked factory jobs, drove trucks, or labored in trades, while mothers often worked domestic jobs.
You know what it just dawned on me too? And I don't know if I'm just getting downloads. That's why them women stayed with them niggas. And I'm not saying that you should, but that's why women stayed with their husbands back then. It was too much involved and they not there for love. Love is the afterthought. This man provides for me. I can tell you about as far as on my daddy's side. My daddy's mother had 16 children, but she found out that her husband had 4 extra children around the corner, but she stayed. And I understand now why those women stayed. A lot of us look at it like they were weak or this, that, and the third, and maybe some of them were. But a lot of them stayed because it was too much wrapped up in it. We not here just for how we feel about each other. We got a family. We got kids. I get it, man. I'm learning. I'm learning and learning at the same time. It's ridiculous.
School or brought in money through cooking and sewing. Both paychecks went towards shared goals, whether paying off the house, saving for emergencies, or putting aside money for the children's future. The division of labor extended beyond earning to managing. One parent might handle bill paying while the other tracked savings. Children saw cooperation in action, learning that financial success was a partnership requiring communication, trust, and shared sacrifice. When unexpected expenses arose, 2 incomes meant more flexibility without having to borrow. For Black families, marriage was not just a personal commitment. It was an economic strategy that protected against debt. Living in multi-generational homes where grandparents, parents, and children shared expenses was common for Black families in the 1960s. 3 generations under one roof meant splitting costs that would otherwise strain a single household. Grandparents contributed Social Security or pension checks, while parents provided the primary income. Older children who worked handed over portions of their paychecks for room and board. Rent, utilities, and groceries were divided, reducing the burden on everyone. Beyond splitting bills, these homes provided built-in childcare, eliminating daycare costs entirely. Grandmothers watched children while parents worked, and older siblings helped younger ones with homework.
Yep.
The arrangement was practical, not a sign of failure. Families pooled resources intentionally, understanding that collective strength was better than individual struggle. When someone faced job loss or illness, others picked up the slack. For Black families, living together was a financial fortress that kept debt far away. Bartering services with neighbors and community members allowed Black families to get what they needed without spending cash in the 1960s.
I know, I'm sorry to stop it one more time, but I want to ask y'all this, and I'm going to let it play after this. So, barter system. To disconnect ourselves from this system, there has to be a barter system, right? So I was wondering, I was walking a couple of days ago, and I was asking myself, and I said I want to come on here and ask y'all, if today, right now today, they came out and told you that whatever money you have in your pocket or in your account, it has no value. And that the only value that you have comes from whatever you can barter. For some of y'all who may not know what barter is, mean trade. So for instance, I scratch my back, you scratch yours. Hey girl, do my hair, I'm gonna watch your kids. What would you have to barter today? If today they came back and said, right now, whatever is in your account and whatever you have in your pocket don't mean nothing. Ask yourself, do I have something to barter? And this is the worst part with Black America. Every Black American has something to barter, but most of them don't know because they're so disconnected from themselves. If you could sit there and say, do I have something to barter? If you can sit up there and wonder if you have something to barter and can't come up with nothing in the first 20 seconds, you need to go within because we all got something to barter. We all have a gift, but we got to think about that because that's coming soon too. I'm telling you, you better have a gift, a skill, a trade, nigga. You better know how to teach blind people how to see or something, because I'm telling you, that's gonna be the way the value system gonna go. Watch.
A neighbor who could fix cars might trade her skills for another neighbor's sewing and altering. The man who cut hair on his porch might receive fresh vegetables from the family down the street who had a garden. These exchanges happen naturally, built on relationships and trust that money could never buy. Bartering kept cash in pockets for necessities like rent and utilities while still meeting everyday needs. Children grew up understanding that skills had value even when money was tight. A woman who could braid hair, alter clothes, or bake cakes for special occasions traded those talents within her community. The practice required knowing your neighbors well enough to understand what they needed and what they could offer. For Black families, bartering was both economically smart and community building, creating bonds that lasted generations. Growing vegetables and raising chickens at home reduced grocery bills dramatically for Black families in the 1960s. In backyards across Black neighborhoods, small gardens grew collard greens, tomatoes, okra, and beans throughout the summer. Some families kept a few chickens for fresh eggs and occasionally for Sunday dinner. The practice was especially common among families with Southern roots who carried agricultural knowledge with them during the Great Migration. Gardens required work, with everyone expected to help with planting, weeding, and harvesting. Children learned responsibility through caring for plants and animals. Canning and preserving extended the harvest through the winter months, filling pantry shelves with jars of vegetables and fruits. Growing your own food meant fewer trips to the grocery store and less money spent on produce.
Ooh,
For Black families, that backyard garden represented self-sufficiency passed down through generations who understood that the ability to feed yourself was true independence. Sewing clothes and mending everything by hand was a skill that saved Black families significant money in the 1960s. Mothers and grandmothers made dresses, shirts, and curtains from fabric bought on sale or salvaged from old garments. Children wore clothes made with love at home, fitted perfectly because someone had measured and cut the fabric specifically for them.
Not bad, why the commercial playing? Bruh, listen. If they had a barter system right now, I'd be rich. Nigga, I got so much I do. Man, watch out. If they created a barter system right now, I ain't gonna lie. I'll be top of the top, y'all. I'll be high class. Sadiddy girl. I'll be a Sadiddy girl. Now, Cash, put me down in the middle at the bottom. Cash, put me down at the middle at the bottom for now. But if it came down to a barter system, oh, girl, I would be that girl. Girl, please. Girl, please, girl. If it ever came down to that, girl, please, I would be rich. Beyond compare.
Machines were prized possessions, often bought secondhand and maintained carefully. Girls learned to sew alongside their mothers, understanding that this skill would serve them throughout their lives. The ability to create and repair clothing meant that families did not need to buy new items every season. Fabric scraps became quilts, curtains, or stuffing for pillows. Nothing was wasted. For Black families, sewing was more than a craft. It was a form of economic resistance that kept money in the household and clothing on every back. Borrowing from family instead of banks or finance companies kept Black families out of institutional debt in the 1960s. When someone needed money for an emergency, a down payment, or an unexpected expense, they turned first to relatives. A brother might loan money for car repairs, expecting repayment when possible, but charging no interest. An aunt might help with the first month's rent when a young family was starting out. These loans came with no credit checks, no paperwork, and no penalties for late payment. The only collateral was family honor and the understanding that you would do the same when called upon. Borrowing from family meant keeping money within the community rather than paying interest to outside institutions. Repayment often happened slowly, a little at a time, without destroying relationships. For Black families who faced discrimination at banks and finance companies, borrowing from kin was both practical and dignified, preserving wealth within family networks. Supporting Black-owned insurance companies and burial societies protected families while keeping money in the community during the 1960s. When white insurers refused to serve Black families or charged exorbitant rates, Black entrepreneurs created their own institutions. Companies like North Carolina Mutual and Atlanta Life provided life insurance and burial policies to Black families across the South. Burial societies collected small weekly payments to ensure members would have dignified funerals without burdening surviving relatives. These institutions employed Black agents who walked neighborhoods, collecting premiums and building relationships with every family they served. The money stayed within Black communities, funding businesses and mortgages. For families who remembered when lacking burial insurance meant pauper graves, these policies represented security. Black-owned insurance companies were symbols of self-determination and economic independence. Refusing to owe money to white establishments was a matter of principle and protection for Black families in the 1960s. The history of debt being used to trap and exploit Black people, from sharecropping to predatory lending, made many families deeply suspicious of any financial entanglement with white institutions. Owing money to a white merchant or bank meant vulnerability in a system that offered Black families little legal protection. Store credit at white-owned shops could come with hidden terms, higher prices, and the threat of public humiliation if payments were late. Many Black families simply refused to put themselves in that position. They saved until they could pay cash, or they did without. This was not merely financial strategy. It was a form of resistance against a system designed to maintain economic control over Black communities. For these families, staying debt-free to white establishments was about preserving autonomy and refusing to recreate the dependencies their ancestors had fought to escape. Taking pride in owning your home and car outright was a defining achievement for Black families in the 1960s. While many Americans were embracing mortgages and car payments, Black families often pursued a different path. They saved for years to buy modest homes with cash or paid off mortgages as quickly as possible, sometimes in just a few years. Cars were purchased, used, and driven until they could no longer run.
Wait, they was paying off houses in a few years? I'm pretty positive because remember back then, grandma lived there, auntie lived there, mama lived there, her kids. So we were group economics. So I'm pretty sure if you pool in the resources, you could pay it off. But also it would have to mean that they were intelligent on paying on a principal versus paying. You see what I'm saying? They had to understand the white boy system to know how to beat it. Man, that's crazy. How did we go from, and this is something I'm asking out loud. How did we go from so connected, family oriented to now it's to the point, like for me, most of us like to just be by ourselves. Like we went from wanting to be amongst each other to now most people like to be apart. Like that's insane. And that's really bad culturally.
Goal was not to have the newest or the nicest. It was to have something that was truly yours, free and clear. When the deed or title was in your name with no lien, nobody could take it away. This security was particularly meaningful for Black families who had watched previous generations lose property to unfair practices and discriminatory laws. Owning outright meant stability that could not be disrupted by job loss or hard times. For these families, a home that was paid off was not just shelter. It was generational wealth that could be passed down. Living well below your means on purpose was a deliberate strategy that kept Black families debt-free in the 1960s.
I do that now.
Even when income increased, spending did not automatically follow. Families who could afford—
I do that now. I live so far below my means, bitch. I am the cheapest girl you will find. I live so far below my means. I do that now. I think I caught that from the ancestors.
Or larger homes often stayed in modest ones. Those who could buy new cars kept driving reliable older ones. The lifestyle that was maintained was intentionally simpler than what the paycheck might allow. This created a cushion of savings that protected against emergencies and eliminated the need to borrow. Children grew up learning that true wealth was not about display, but about security. Keeping up with neighbors or trying to impress others was never prioritized over financial stability. The money saved by living below means went into emergency funds, property purchases, and investments in children's education. For Black families who understood how quickly circumstances could change, maintaining that gap between earning and spending was not deprivation. It was freedom from the anxiety that debt creates. Building strong marriages that protected family wealth was central to how Black families stayed debt-free in the 1960s. Husbands and wives operated as financial partners, making major decisions together and holding each other accountable. There was no his money or her money. It was all family money, directed towards shared goals. Couples discussed finances openly, something many modern marriages avoid. When one spouse wanted to make a purchase, the other had to agree. This prevented impulsive spending and kept both partners focused on security. Divorce was less common, meaning family wealth stayed intact rather than being divided. The stability of marriage provided a foundation for long-term planning that debt would have disrupted. Children watched their parents work together, learning that financial success required unity. For Black families, a strong marriage was not just about love, it was about building something that would last for generations and protect against the vulnerability that debt creates. Facing community accountability for spending habits kept Black families financially disciplined in the 1960s. Everyone knew everyone in tight-knit Black neighborhoods. and word traveled fast about who was living beyond their means. If someone bought a flashy car they clearly could not afford, neighbors noticed and talked. If a family was seen spending carelessly while owing money to others, their reputation suffered. This social pressure was powerful. Nobody wanted to be known as the family that could not manage money. Church members, neighbors, and extended family all served as informal accountability partners who noticed when spending seemed out of line. Children were taught that how you handled money reflected on your whole family. The community functioned as a mirror, reflecting back the consequences of financial choices. For Black families, knowing that others were watching created an incentive to save, spend wisely, and avoid the shame of debt that would become neighborhood gossip. Following grandmother's rules about saving before spending shaped how Black families managed money in the 1960s. Grandmothers carried wisdom from generations of survival, and their financial lessons were treated as sacred. Never spend more than you make. Always put something aside before you touch your paycheck. If you cannot pay cash, you cannot afford it. These rules were repeated at kitchen tables, during family gatherings, and whenever young people needed guidance. Grandmothers had lived through times when there was no safety net, when one bad decision could mean losing everything. They taught their children and grandchildren to save first, always, without exception. The savings envelope was filled before groceries were bought. The emergency fund was built before new clothes were considered. These were not suggestions. They were commandments passed down from women who had learned the hard way what happened when you did not follow them. For Black families, grandmother's rules were the foundation of financial survival. Practicing the patience that credit cards would later destroy was what kept Black families debt-free in the 1960s. When you wanted something, you saved for it. There was no instant gratification, no swiping a card to have it now and worry about payment later. Children learned to wait for birthday gifts, Christmas presents, and school clothes. Adults saved for months to buy furniture or appliances. The waiting was not punishment. It was part of the process that made the eventual purchase meaningful. You appreciated what you had because you remembered how long it took to save for it. Credit cards changed everything by eliminating the wait and with it the discipline that waiting required. The patience practiced by Black families in the 1960s was a skill, a habit, and a protection against debt. When you had to save before you could spend, you thought carefully about every purchase. That patience has been largely lost to a generation, raised on instant credit and immediate gratification. Carrying the lost wisdom of true financial independence was what made Black families in the 1960s different from those who came after. They understood that real freedom means owing nothing to anyone. Every paycheck was theirs to keep, not promised to creditors. Every possession was fully owned, not collateral for debt. The anxiety of monthly payments and interest charges was absent from their lives. This wisdom required sacrifice and discipline, but the reward was a peace that debt makes impossible. Grandmothers who live by these principles are passing away, taking their knowledge with them. The systems they built and the habits they taught are fading from memory. For Black families who want to reclaim that freedom, the path remains. But the wisdom to walk it is disappearing with every generation that chooses debt over patience, instant gratification over long-term security, and borrowing over the simple discipline of waiting until you can truly afford what you want.
Bruh, let me say this. First of all, this video was dope. Shout out to the
Bidding $20 each.
Shout out to the channel. It is Soulful. Hold on. Soulful Yesterdays and Sisters of Yesterday. Is that the name of the channel? I see two people. Okay, so it's two channels. How they connected them? I ain't never seen that, but whatever. That's dope. How do you do that? I need to go into the YouTube studio. But here are the people, soulful yesterdays and sisters of yesterday. And I'll share the video for y'all if y'all want to go back and watch it on your own. But let me say this, man. Listen, the video was dope, but it told us a lot. And it's not that these are things that we can't get back. The only problem is we would have to start in the mirror. We can't wait on other people to be like-minded. We just got to start with us. I ain't got no more kids. I don't plan on having no more kids. But for y'all with the young children, we need to start going back to sewing, teaching our kids the old tradition. We all still know what grandmother told us. All us have it in us. It's instilled in us. We got to start with the man in the mirror and start at home. But prior to this whole credit system, we had our own systems that worked for us. And it's crazy because now they got us so engulfed in what's new and what's hot that we completely abandon our cultural systems just to get what's new. That's why everybody running around in debt somewhere. Girl, I know for me, I didn't have to take a course to understand money. And I tell people this all the time. Money is like liquor. It's like alcohol. If you disrespect it, it's going to put you on your ass. Okay? What do I mean by that? Meaning, I don't believe that money is something that you're supposed to use to abuse. You're not supposed to abuse anything, but especially money. Some people are abusing the concept of money and not even money. What do I mean by the concept of money? They're abusing the credit system because that's not even the money itself. And now we're priding on what you have versus could you even really afford it? Because let's be clear. I'm from the city, but I know every hood is like this. The brokest people in the hood, a lot of times, not all of them, but some of them have the nicest cars. Some of them have the nicest clothes. You feel me? It tells me that the money and potential is there. It's the mentality. You know, I tell everybody, live way below your means. Man, listen, don't even get me started on them car notes. When I found out, and let me tell you, I only had one car note. And my car note was $350. I'll never forget it. And I paid that motherfucker about 5-6 years. But when I finally paid that car note off, and I found out people was riding around in $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 car notes, I ain't gonna lie. I said people gotta be crazy as HE double hockey sticks. I don't want a new vehicle that bad. Girl, people ain't paying that for rent. What you mean that's the car note? And the people with these car notes, they get all the praise. They're the ones that seem to be successful. It's insane. It's insanitary. I swear to God. Like, I'm like, wait, $1,500 without the insurance? It's already $1,500. But wait, you hadn't even added the insurance on this? I ain't gonna lie, man. I know the economy has raised and money ain't the same. But I ain't gonna lie, I just can't I can't wrap my head around it. If I can't afford it, I ain't gonna get it. Because I'm not signing my name to pay nobody $2,000 a month to ride around. I just can't, not to drive. A house, you got me. To drive, Nah, I give me an old car. I give me a beater. No, because at least I know ain't nobody come and get it. You feel me? And it's mine. And I sure did when got me a nice little Toyota Camry, girl. Yay. I don't know. I'm different, but I live way below my means. And I have friends and family who live way above their means. And I've always watched them. I've even had some of my quote unquote friends tell me, oh, you should get a new car. Why you riding around in that old Altima, girl? You need a new car. I'm good. Girl, get you a new car. You deserve a new car. You work hard. Nah, I'm good. You sure, girl, you need to get you a car? I'm so glad I didn't get me no car. Girl. Because what we talking about? I'm straight. The point is, we had a system, a cultural system, where we prided ourselves on having. I remember before my brother died. My brother died in 2005. But I remember about maybe 99, 2000. No, we was out of high school. So probably about 2000, 2001. I remember my brother had told me, I was like, yeah, I need to figure out how to work this credit thing. And he said, credit? My brother sold drugs. Just for backstory. And he said, credit? And I said, yeah, nigga, we need credit. Shit, we need to have credit to get this, that, and the third. That nigga looked at me. He said, if you don't have it, you don't deserve it. He said, if it ain't in your pocket, you ain't supposed to have it. I said, what? And he said, that's your problem. He told me. He said, that's your problem. You're chasing something you don't have. He said, if you don't have it in your pocket, it ain't meant for you to have it. Now, years went by, and I said that nigga was way off because we definitely need credit. But now in 2026, I'm revisiting it, and he was absolutely right. If it ain't in your pocket, it ain't meant for you to have it. I'm just saying. I'm living by that. My brother told me that, and I thought he was crazy, but he was on it. If it ain't in your pocket, you ain't supposed to have it, fat. You ain't supposed to have it. You know what I'm saying? And he was a drug dealer, so he must have been wise. His Wonder Woman, thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? No, but seriously, though, we got to get back to the systems. The only way to get back to it, y'all, everybody that watched this video, start with the person in the mirror. Start with your household. Start with your family. Start with your kids. But most importantly, before you start with the household, the family, and the kids, start with you. That's where the change comes. I thought Michael Jackson was tripping when he was up there hollering about the man in the mirror. And I thought it was just some old craziness. But until I looked at the woman in this mirror, it dawned on me that he was absolutely on point. We could get it back. It start with us. With that being said, y'all, I'm about to get up off of here. Happy Educational Friday. I hope y'all learned something. Let's get back to our old traditions. Each one teach one. And remember, don't pay it back. Pay it forward. Love you back. See y'all later. Peace.
Can you hear me now? Oh, let's go. It's your boy Big Chew, the voice of the beat. You know what I want? Blaze up. Come on, Blaze up.
It's the beat for me.
Wow, 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 wow. For your guy, for your B-O-Y. Drop it for your guy, for your B-O-Y. Do it for your guy, for your B-O-Y.